Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage. We take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course stream for fun. Today we're going over gaming news consolidated. This is June 22nd through the 28th. And what I basically do here is I look over articles and videos over the course of the week and put it all here in one podcast for you. Generally these go about an hour, maybe a little over, maybe a little under, depending on the material and content, but yeah, it can get kind of exhausting to keep up with multiple channels and multiple videos, even every day throughout the week. And so my idea here is to pick the best stuff and place it in one place for you. So, but first, we're going to talk about. Well, let's see. Let's go over what we're going to talk about first. We're going to go over Monster Hunter Wilds. It's actually kind of on fire, which is surprising to a degree. I think people aren't looking at it with rose-colored glasses anymore, which is good. Also, we're going to talk about the Xbox Insider program with the Xbox PC app. It's really showing us what that's going to look like in the future, which is pretty crazy. We're going to also go over a few games. We're also going to go over some new trailer for some games. We're also going to go over the Borderlands 4 collector's box, which is not good. There's also been some changes at Warner Bros. Studios. We're also going to talk about the Switch 2 and talk about Mario Kart World. And then we're also going to talk about Death Stranding 2 a little bit. And some issues with that, unfortunately, though it may not be exactly what you think it is. And there's plenty more. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Let's go ahead and get started. So first, public service announcement. So I ended up doing a review, or like an initial look. I haven't done a full review. I haven't played through the whole thing yet. I'm working through it slowly. Uh, but my initial look, I said that the game was actually pretty good, like 7.5, 8 out of 10 as a remaster. And but yeah, I saw that there were refunds and discounts and patch plans for it on Steam. And I'm assuming kind of on console too. And right now, the game is not a ton of reviews, but the game is sitting at mostly negative. And this is really surprising for me because, again, in my experience, it hasn't been perfect on the Xbox, but it's still been pretty good. So I wanted to show some of the reviews here. You know, decent port, but not worth the price they're offering. Not to mention it should have been free for owners of the original game. I think it was like 2011, 2012. Truly disappointing. Warning people not to play on Linux. Won't start Proton at all. Don't waste your money. There's nothing here that could cost $40, a ridiculous price. Actually, on Xbox, it's actually $50. Not gonna lie, I love this game to death, but this Mastercrafted version is just a waste of money if you've already played the original. There are improvements that look slightly better, but it's not enough to justify the price. Never played the original Opportunity. Played a ton of Space Marine 2. But for the price being asked, I would have expected a better experience. There are weird formatting issues with Ultra Ride, though none are game breaking, and it at least works. I do really routinely encounter bugs that would dump the game to black screen, often in the middle of very challenging fights. So yeah, there's some issues here. Can't get past press any key to start. Yeah, that's insane. Can't even get past that initial screen. So there are issues. There are people too that also like it, but yeah, it's very, very few compared to the total reviews that we have. So on Xbox, I'm still sticking to my score so far, at least for my initial look. Those first, I don't know, I've probably played 3 or 4 missions so far out of what, there's 18. And so far, it's been running pretty good. My only complaint is that there are some audio volume issues where sometimes the audio is quiet and others are kind of louder, and then some are in the middle. So that's kind of imperfect. But everything else is definitely better. I mean, they've completely redone a lot of the textures. I shared this too in my little short that I had, and I shared this as well with the initial look that I did. And I think it's cool too that they've done some other things with the multiplayer and allowing you to be pretty much any branch of the Space Marines that you want. But again, too, I understand that it's also a remaster. This is not like completely redoing everything like a remake. And we're actually going to cover that pretty soon next week of what the difference is between a remaster and a remake. And no, they are not interchangeable. And I wish people could understand that. And too, that companies did a better job of helping players understand that, because I think sometimes they expect a remake and it's a remaster instead, and it's not as good as they were hoping, and so that's why some of the reviews become negative. Two, some remasters are horrible. There's barely any work done at all. They don't work. I mean, if you think Space Marine Master Crafted is bad, just play some of the Aspire Star Wars games. Those are absolutely next level, down in the gutter. They're gaming garbage, folks. Most of them. So, just wanted to put that out there. So we do have confirmation through the Xbox Insider program that the Xbox PC app for handhelds and PCs will have integrated libraries. This is actually confirmed now. This will be Xbox, Steam, Battle.net, Epic, GOG, etc., and more PC stores are coming later. So they're going to continue to integrate. Maybe eventually they'll integrate everything, which would be amazing. But yeah, it is important to emphasize that this is the Xbox PC app. This is not the app on your phone. This is not the app like through Xbox, for example. This is the Xbox PC version of that app. So now the Xbox app, like on your phone, is able to connect to purchases, to console friends, rewards, and profile stuff. I have not used the PC app myself, but the PC app is specific to Windows devices. So this includes uh, ROG Allies and Lenovo handhelds and any of your Windows PCs out there, whatever. It's all made for those type of applications. Though this doesn't mean, too, that we're also not going to get some kind of a hybrid for the next-gen console for Xbox. And which, if it isn't, I think that's a huge fumble if they don't actually do that. If they don't make the next gen a hybrid type of console where it's base Windows with a type of applique of Xbox over it, that would be pretty amazing. And yeah, if they did do that, they would honestly exclude a lot of the console users, which there's tens of millions, and that probably would not be the best call. Xbox has confirmed that their partnership with AMD is for several years, and they also have new specialized AI chips to power the next gen Xbox. And based on Microsoft messaging around the next gen Xbox, it's pretty much assured that it will be basically Windows 11 gaming version instead of the Xbox OS that we've been used to. Maybe a fun, yeah, again, foundational Windows 11 with a partition of Xbox or some degree. I'd also like to see original Xbox and 360 apps as emulators, so that you can just literally put them right onto your console or put them right onto your PC or whatever you got that's Windows 11, and just be able to play your old games. Because I have a ton sitting over there. I'd love to be able to play those and still keep those. That would be great. And currently, there's also emulators already on the Series X anyway. You can go into dev mode and you can download some of these. And you can just, yeah, as long as you have the ROMs, you can play them right away. So yeah, ultimately, the future of gaming, I think, is actually really exciting. I mean, though it's going to be tainted with next week. Microsoft is having roughly around 6,000 layoffs. These are going to be regional based, and some are going to be Xbox, and then the rest are going to be throughout the company. Some are saying that some of these studios might be closing down. And everyone is making this just about Xbox, but I think sometimes they misunderstand or just don't remember that Microsoft is more or less a Microsoft company with a side of Xbox. It's not an Xbox company with a side of Microsoft. And so Microsoft has over 220,000 employees, one of the biggest companies in the world. And they're still not the only one having layoffs. We still have USPS, UPS, FedEx, also multiple airliners. There's a lot of people still having layoffs right now, even in our, quote, wonderful economy. And this also includes Amazon, too. They're going to lay off several thousand workers. And yeah, this, in my opinion, still the economy is not healthy. It's fake. and it'll become real and realized by everybody eventually at some point. But yeah, we're not going to be done having layoffs. I still think we're going to continue layoffs through all of 2026, maybe even into the beginning of 2027. I think it has to stop eventually, but I think too we just don't understand how much growth we actually had in every industry during and right after COVID, because it was hard to find workers. Workers were striking and wanting more pay. And so, yeah, I mean, having enough workers was really tough. And for a lot of places, they still don't have enough workers. And then some places overhired. And this is actually a pretty normal practice for corporations. They overhire, they expect the expansion and the scaling, and that doesn't happen. And then, yeah, they just freaking lay off a ton of people. So I think at this point, even if we add these 6,000 layoffs that we're expecting, we're probably going to be looking at just over 10,000 layoffs, maybe 12,000 layoffs at Microsoft. And that still doesn't even, that's roughly about 5% of the company, which is crazy just to, again, to think how big that is. But it's not like we're laying off 30% of Microsoft, right? These are big numbers, and these are affecting real people. They do have lives. They have mortgages, rent. They have families too, some of them. And yeah, it's horrible to get laid off. And if there's a lot of layoffs in a particular area, it's also going to affect the town or the city that they live in, and third-party vendors and everybody else. So this will have rippling effects. It's just unfortunate that this isn't abnormal. This is a pretty normal thing. And I don't think it's just like going to kill off Xbox. Again, some parts of it are going to be affected, and we'll have to see when it actually happens what's affected and what's not. And we'll talk about that on the channel when that actually happens. So expect that to actually be like next week. And I'll talk about it next weekend. Next, just a quick little thing about Marathon. So I was able to communicate through someone else that works at Bungie on how Marathon is going right now, because there's not a lot of information out there. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt. I do too. But yeah, this is kind of scary if this is real. So the Marathon team is looking to completely scrap and start over with their artistic design, with the whole anti-real scandal of just like their artwork being in the game all over the place, and them not able to show gameplay because again they're showing someone else's work most likely, or other people's work. But yeah, what they're hearing within the studio itself is that the leadership does not want to hire anti-real, or they're not taking any type of offering that they're giving. And they're also hearing that the leadership at Bungie does not want to pay damages. So the idea is just to avoid this all. They are completely scrapping all design in the game and just starting over. And man, I got to tell you, that's going to take a while. Now, we do know that Marathon is indefinitely on hold. It's not completely canceled yet, but it doesn't have a release date. They say come in the fall time, they're actually going to give us a release date of when we can expect Marathon. But to completely scrap everything and start over, and it being rushed and everything, I can't see that as working out very well or being good. And yeah, morale at the studio is not very high at all. Hearing now that they basically, if this is accurate, have to scrap everything visually and start over, it's just made morale worse. And there are people wishing that they could go back to Destiny and just work on Destiny. And there's chatter about layoffs, and there's chatter about even the game failing when it does launch, if it launches. So they're not even sure if it's going to launch either. So yeah, things are things are not going good at Bungie, folks. It's bad. Also, too, just a minor note here with Bungie, Destiny 2 Edge of Fate, which is like the next kind of expansion thing, pre-orders are down 50% from what's normal. And even normal was down from previous normal before that. So Destiny 2 isn't going well. Doesn't sound like Marathon's doing any better at all. I think Bungie is really screwed as a studio. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Man, it does not look good whatsoever. Let's talk about Monster Hunter Wilds. It's actually on fire. And is this a still Game of the Year contender? Maybe. But Steam currently has 2,000 plus reviews as of this writing. Actually, let's just look it up. So it's on sale, 20% off already. Overwhelmingly negative. Dang, that's insane. Almost 15,000 are overwhelmingly negative. And it's currently sitting at mixed with almost 100. Well, it's 147,000. That's incredible. Oh my goodness, man. Yeah, as a veteran of Monster Hunter player, Wilds seriously concerns me. The reason I fell in love with Monster Hunter in the first place was the deep sense of immersion and progression present in older games. There used to exist a perfect amount of friction, so to speak, quests needing to be properly prepared and monsters needed to be learned. Each map needed to be explored and studied. Gear needed to be earned by grinding hunts. Old Monster Hunter gameplay was well polished and addictive. Wilds is an autopilot version of Monster Hunter autopilot version of Monster Hunter, excuse me, I used to love. Optimizing gear no longer matters. The monsters die no matter what. There's no need to learn the maps. Your mount automatically takes you to the monsters. Yeah. And see, the thing that's frustrating, folks, is Lion and I tried talking to you guys about this. Hopefully some of you listened, but some of you certainly didn't. I mean, Monster Hunter Wilds was amazing and whatever, but it's like we played the beta, and man, the beta was not good. And people were saying, oh, this is a build that was like a year ago, and the game's going to be better and different. And no, people are still actually complaining about issues. Issues with the game running on PC, and still, in my opinion, too, it also really doesn't look that great still on console, regardless of what you're looking at. So yeah, they're not fixing the performance of their game. They're fixing a few things. But again, if they're making a game and they're telling you at the very beginning you need to turn frame gen on, or that it should be played in performance mode, okay, that is not good. They know it's not good, and the leadership of the publisher is putting it out anyway, like Capcom. So they knew they were screwing you guys. And they knew, too, that they were also casualizing the game so that they could broaden the audience. And in the meantime, I even made another video after our open beta that Lion and I did, talking about how they're shifting and changing Monster Hunter Wilds. And, granted, you guys, some of you pissed on me because I hadn't played the game itself, but playing the beta showed me enough, and also doing my research through the reviews and some of the stuff that was changing, like through Game 8, that they were, reporting on and talking about the difference between other Monster Hunter games and also Monster Hunter Wilds, and sharing all of the articles with you. Is like, look, guys, it's right here. You don't need to play the game to understand that you're screwed. And into the content that we've been getting. We're getting like 2 monsters this year. We used to get 3 or 4 in like the first couple of months of launch. So like lack of content, the game still runs poorly for many people, at least on PC. And again, I think people really want to enjoy this, but I think the rose-colored glasses are coming off. And again, these are people that I call fanboys. I mean, you're a fanboy if you're buying the brand and just blindly accepting that it's going to be amazing. And folks, unfortunate to say, companies will screw you over nowadays, even the ones that, quote, you trust, simply because they can get more money. And it's really the publishers making the decisions. It's not the devs. And we hear this over and over and over again in the 2020s, and even in some of the 2010s, is that the devs said, look, it's not ready, we need more time, and the publisher said no. And it gets frustrating to continuously try to tell y'all that things are not going well, or things look wrong or off or whatever, and then people go and buy some of this stuff, and then they complain anyway. If all of y'all know that, hey, it's great, there's no issues there, and you buy it and you don't complain, okay, that's great. Or 2, like, you know what all of the bugs are and you're going to buy it anyway, okay, that's great. Same with anything else in life. like with a car, or buying a house, or marrying somebody, or voting. Like if you know what you're getting into, that's great. But a lot of times these people, at least on the gamer side, they don't know what they're getting into. They're not willing to see it objectively for what it is, and then they complain about it later. And that is frustrating. I mean, I don't do this really for myself. I do my research. I don't need to have a video telling myself what I already researched, right? I'm doing it for you guys. I mean, seriously, this is why too we call it gaming garbage, is because the gaming industry, generally speaking, is garbage. It's garbage. It's on fire most of the time. AAA is a bad word. So is live service. A lot of devs we used to believe in, we don't anymore. Like Rocksteady or BioWare, for Pete's sakes. Ubisoft, I don't think is ever coming back. We hate EA for the most part because of what they do as a publisher, and Take-Two Interactive, honestly, isn't any better. And it's frustrating, and some people are going to feel screwed too, even with Bandai Namco and From Software with Night Rain, because it's like, look, this is totally a different game. I got fooled with the whole Elden Ring part of the title. And again, I don't think some of the stuff, the way they do it, should be done the way that they do it. And they do it ultimately because they know they can get money, because they know they have branding power. Well, when you start damaging your reputation like a lot of these studios and publishers, people don't trust your product anymore, and you just become an Ubisoft. Man, and like my concerns with my video, I'll link these down below, by the way. But yeah, my concerns too with the video for Monster Hunter Wilds changing is like they're going to lose their player base, and they're just going to become another casual, boring game. Ta-da! Here we are, brothers. We're here. The ones that have been playing a ton, like this guy, 113 hours, 300 hours. And these people are like, yeah, these are garbage. And these are all reviews in the past 30 days. 252 almost. Please read this and keep an open mind. I quite literally beg you. The review isn't really meant for the team or Capcom. Let's see. Tried it. Good gravy. Well, that's a really, really long one. So yeah, it's been bad. It's ultimately been pretty bad. And Crapcom, I think that should say it all right there. Yeah, unfortunately, again, they've made some good ones. They've done some good remasters. But we'll have to see how Resident Evil is, and it's just disappointing. It's just disappointing to keep having to deal with some of this stuff. So ultimately, the score is roughly at 54% on Steam player breakdown by the month. In February, we had 1.3 million players. March was 1.3 million. April was 500,000. That's when a big update actually came. You'd think the number would go up. But even after the big update, they lost 800,000 players. They didn't come back. That's pretty insane. In May, they had 125,000. And then June, we're looking at 100,000 by the end of the month. Like, the game is seriously dying here. And this is on SteamDB. SteamDB. And players are still calling out crashes, fidelity problems, graphical issues with shaders, weekend gameplay, weak end game content, and then the game being too easy and the combat ultimately boring. Again, we chatted about that too. It's like a hack and slash. God, some of you guys reamed me. And man, you guys are getting reamed by the company and you didn't even know it. Man, don't do that next time. Don't pre-order, okay? Don't base it off of a name. Actually, pay attention, okay? Listen to some channels. Take it with a grain of salt like you always should, but listen to some other channels too. And if the general consensus is like, there's some issues here, okay, don't just cope and blow your money. We don't want you to do that. Yeah, so this too is incredibly frustrating. Also, looking at PlayStation Time Tracker, in March, this is just on PlayStation players, right? They cover like a little over 13,000 accounts. But in March, they were number 4. And in April, they were number 15. That was a 31% drop in hours played. And then May was 46th out of 100. That was a 32% drop. And then June was number 91 with another 23% drop. So by the end of June, or somewhere in July, they're probably not even going to be in the top 100 played on PlayStation, which is again really sad. I mean, Monster Hunter is a wonderful IP. I'm just afraid that Capcom is messing it up. And what 10 million copies sold tells Capcom and the devs is that ultimately they don't have to put out a game that's good, that's fixed, that runs well. They can just put out a game basically in a beta state like we played on the beta and just leave it there. And it's the same thing with Dragon's Dogma 2. The game is still buggy, still has problems, runs a little better, but it's still not fixed. It's still not in the state we would expect as a AAA game. And this is frustrating. Like, I am starting to get worried for Capcom because, again, if they just keep seeing the money, why do they have to fix their game? Remember, folks, withholding money is the only way we can vote that these big companies are going to understand. Stop buying it. Stop buying the COD. Stop buying Madden. Stop buying the next Diablo game or Elder Scrolls or Bethesda game or whatever. I mean, if it basically is a AAA game, be leery about it because these publishers, they're after money. I even worry about GTA 6. We're getting half of a game for like a minimum of $70, maybe $80. And then the multiplayer is going to be topped on top of that, probably for 30 or 40. And so, yeah, we're looking at our first full functional game with all aspects to it being like $120. $120 game. That's crazy with monetization. That is absolutely insane. We've already seen that with GTA 5. So I'll be covering GTA 6 here, but yeah, don't expect me to be singing praises because I'm looking for stuff that I can pick on. Because again, these companies, they love to screw the players. They love to show marketing speak and good trailers and better graphics, and then the experience is always freaking less than that. It's just sad, folks. Again, we're here at Game and Garbage to share with you what's going on, to be as objective as possible. And some of you guys' feelings, they're going to get hurt. But, we don't necessarily care about your feelings too much. We care about how your experience is. We don't want you to feel screwed. We don't want you to waste your money because some of us, myself included, we work hard for our money. And when we buy a game at $70, $80 or an edition that's $100, man, that's a risk. And if the game sucks, we feel like we wasted our money and we're mad. And that's all I'm trying to avoid here for some of y'all. Next, let's talk about Beat Savers. This is actually owned by Meta, or by Meta. It won't receive any more updates with the PSVR 2. Now, the PSVR 2 never actually sold very well. The launch expected was 2 million units to be sold, and they only sold about 225,000. Last I saw, they sold roughly about 600,000 units, and that's about where we're at now. Last I saw, I researched just earlier last week. And yeah, that's only 8% of the PSVR 1 total. So yeah, they really didn't sell much at all. PSVR 1, they sold millions of units. And it's just, yeah, it just sucks that, it's just another product that didn't sell well, that is not going to be supported. Even third-party companies aren't supporting it anymore. So, yeah, if you haven't bought one yet, boy, don't buy it. Or maybe just sell it and get some of your money back. That's what I suggest. Boy, let's talk about YouTube. Something weird is going on. And I don't have a lot of information on this, but something definitely does feel off. So in June, a lot of bigger creators, they're like, hey, my views are literally tanking on YouTube. They seem okay everywhere else. But, like, I'm not getting the amount of views. I'm not getting the watch time that I used to or the subs. Like, what's going on? So some of it could be people are just tired of the content. Something, too, that happened in June is, and also a little bit of a change in May, is YouTube also changed how many ads we see. You probably see how many ads we see at this point. You probably see, too, how many are stacked on top of each other sometimes. Man, it's just crazy. So that's probably pushing some people off a little bit. And people also don't want to pay for premium just to get rid of ads because it's ultimately not worth it to them for the price that you're paying. But there is something just kind of weird going on. It could be that school's out or college is out, so people are enjoying their summer. Uh, but yeah, uh, just for everyone to be synced roughly around the same time, because there's multiple content creators that are talking about this. People that are in the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and even millions of subscribers on YouTube. A lot of them are having kind of the same problem. So maybe the algorithm changed or shifted too. Now, I even noticed an adjustment in May and beginning of June, where again, I myself, what's normal for me, I was getting like half of that, if that. And now my numbers are kind of like going back up again. So, yeah, if you have any information or you have any thoughts for all of us, go ahead and leave it down in the comments. Let's keep the discussion going because I feel like something is fundamentally changing with YouTube, and maybe they're not necessarily sharing it, or it's not very well out in the open. But yeah, something too just feels off. Let's talk about Star Wars Battlefront 2. So this was actually made by the Battlefield devs, which it is a fun game. If you want to hear me cussing over it, I'll be maybe putting that together pretty soon. But it's still actually increasing in player counts, which is pretty wild. So Steam DB shows that April 21st was 1,500 players. May 26th was 18,000. Huge jump. And then last weekend was almost 36,000 players. Man! Like, yeah, this game's blowing up. So I decided to try on Xbox, and yeah, sure enough, I can actually get into games and play. It used to be a dead game. I'd have to sit there for quite a while and wait, but nope, there's actually people playing. If you also take a look at PlayStation Time Tracker, that's honestly going pretty good too. It's so far number 14 in hours played. And yeah, there's quite a few people actually playing it right now. To be number 14 is crazy. And yeah, in April, in the top 100, Star Wars Battlefront wasn't even there. In May, it was 20. It was number 20. And then, yeah, so far in June, it's number 14. It might be 13 or 12 now. But yeah, people are hopping back on. And yeah, it's fun. Oh man, is it challenging? Absolutely. That's what I'm cursing about. But man, it's fun. It feels like just a video game again. And boy, yeah, when you get some kills, man, you feel amazing. And this too, it just shows that like how live service can ruin a good game. Because it was all about the loot boxes. And the way everything was designed was around the cards and around what you got in the loot boxes and unlocking cards. Well, now you can just unlock the cards now just by playing and everything's good. But yeah, again, live service fundamentally, and I have said this on the channel multiple times for the last 2 years, is that live service just fundamentally takes the fun out of the game. It's horrible. It's horrible. I really hate live service and how most of the time it's done. Now, if it's Helldivers 2, okay, that works great. It works out pretty good. They make the game with the store as an afterthought. That's how it should be. What we have today with a lot of AAA stuff is that they make the store and then they build the game around it. Man, Call of Duty is like that so hard. It's disgusting. Or like any of the EA Sports games. Same thing. It's awful. And I really wish they would quit. Because it's freaking horrendous. Yeah. Maybe with enough people withholding money, maybe things will change in the industry. Ultimately, it's up to you folks. I know how I'm voting. You guys should continue to vote too. Next, let's talk about Blood Message. So this was a trailer that was just kind of put out there. Wasn't really connected with anything as far as I know. But honestly, it looks really, really good. And it's just a narrative story that you play through. And it looks great. My only concern is it's published by NetEase. And NetEase is well known for, regardless of what game it is, microtransactions in the game. And I hope that's not the case. And I hope, too, that doesn't also change the game design. And I hope to, kind of like they did a little bit with Assassin's Creed Shadows. But I hope, too, that the game design can ultimately, primarily game first. Now, this is a Chinese developer company. dev team, and honestly, the Chinese have been knocking it out of the park. So have the Koreans and the Japanese too. Um, or no, this yeah, and yeah, Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans. They've been doing a wonderful job, and so yeah, the West honestly needs to take notes because they're the ones that are actually making money. But and not a lot of the Western studios, except for like Expedition 33 or something like that. But again, AAA is just starting to become a bad word. A lot of us are starting to hate it. But yeah, the game honestly looks pretty good. Um, it looks great. It's completely like next level. So overall, I'm excited and looking forward to see more. And this honestly too, it's what I want. It's really what I want to see. Again, live service has just been the push. It's just been the mess, and we're spending $70, $80 now for some of these games as an entry fee, with more microtransactions later, even like Monster Hunter Wilds. And I just think people are tired of this. I mean, it truly is exhausting. So yeah, Western studios need to take a heads up, and they need to, and publishers too. They need to stop releasing broken games. They need to stop making everything live service, like Sony should be learning by now. They need to start making stories again, people and players and characters we can connect with, make memories with. Okay, that's why some of these IPs have ran for so long. And then you make everything about the player instead of the player being immersed in something. And again, that's what they're missing. We want to be immersed in something. We don't want us to be the hero. Okay, we want to be immersed in some type of story that makes us think at the end and be like, wow, I thought this was a Call of Duty game. And see, Call of Duty used to do that. Well, they don't anymore. It's all just chasing money, and you can tell. And it sucks. But yeah, Blood Message honestly looks pretty dang good. I'm going to keep my eyes on that one here on the channel. Let's talk about Borderlands 4, a collector's box, or a collector's edition. It's really a box because there's no copy of the game. There's no digital code of one either. It is just the items itself. So what do you get? A cloth map of the world, a shift code, which is 5 golden keys for loot, vault symbol necklace, woohoo. Maybe it'll turn your skin green. 4 art cards, one of each character, an 8-inch statue made of plastic of Echo 4. Who's that? Oh, don't you know who Echo 4 is? Nobody does, because they're in the game we haven't played yet. Also, this is all $150 with no game. Man, we used to get night vision goggles, like Gen 2 night vision, and RC toys and helmets and knives and shields, etc. with the game. And now we get this. And it makes me think, too, of Veilguard. All of the stuff, the different editions they had, it's like, yeah, no game. No game! It's like, are you out of your mind? And then the game price keeps going up, too. It's not $60 anymore. It's $70. Oh, some of them now are $80. Oh, some of them now are $90 physical. Good God! Like, are they just going for the whales in gaming? For Pete's sakes, if you don't know what a whale is, it's people that have a whole bunch of money to blow. Like, tens of thousands is nothing to them, right? Lots of money. Okay, that's definitely not most of us. So yeah, that's what's in the collector's box. They do a little better now in the imaging of collector's editions to show, yeah, this does not include the game, right? But man, this is getting disgusting. It's like it's $150. I would rather just 3D print a digital asset from a game and then just sell those for like $40. Be a heck of a lot better. And then, too, it's of a character we don't even know. We can't even connect with. We don't even know who that is. A helper robot? That's great. Where's Claptrap? Probably don't have him. Okay. Yeah, I don't think they're going to sell very many. I don't. And the biggest thing that I think, too, is that people are going to be shocked with is that Borderlands 4 does not have quad co-op. Quad split screen. Doesn't have it because it's got to have the ray tracing and the 4K textures for that type of an art style, which in my opinion does not need it. And but yeah, it's only going to be 2-player split screen. I hope they patch that. I hope they change that even at launch. But Last I did my research, yeah, it's from either from the dev studio themselves or the publisher. I forget which, but yeah, they said it's only 2-player. And yeah, that's going to shock some people because it'll be the first one. So yeah, that's going to be awful. So anyway, we'll keep track of what Borderlands 4 is too, how that goes. Actually, while I'm thinking about it, let's talk about Death Stranding 2. So the reviews, really, really good. People are loving it. People are enjoying it. People are saying it's better than Death Stranding 1. And I'm not going to spoil anything. I eventually want to play it myself too over on Xbox. And but yeah, people are really, really, really enjoying the game. And too, if you like Kojima games, you're going to pretty much love this one. So people are stoked. People are having a good time, putting a lot of hours in. And yeah, they're having a blast. One of the problems, though, is that I haven't looked into this too much. This is just more of a PSA. But if you have a PlayStation 5, be careful with playing the game because I guess some of the PlayStations are overheating. Now, the last time we saw this was with Final Fantasy 16, and it was during a specific cutscene. And not all PlayStations, but some PlayStations would have a problem and have to shut off because they got too hot. And the reason, which I feel like I should really share this independently in another video, but the reason is because Sony has had 3 different sizes of heat sinks now. They've shrank it twice. So they started with the original, which was a beefcake. I mean, it was good, right? It was a really good heat sink with the original PlayStation at launch. And then after a year, 2 years, they shrunk it a little bit. And then the next year, they shrunk it again. And I hope they haven't shrunk it a third time. But that's why, in my opinion, some of these consoles are overheating and not others. It's because some people have bought the newer models and they have the smaller heat sinks, and the heat sinks are not good enough to actually cool the machine while it's playing some of these really intensive games. For $500. What a load of garbage. I wouldn't shrink my heatsink down at all. If you also buy a newer Xbox, it's the same thing. It's not a shrunken down heatsink, but it's not as good of one. So just for future use, I don't care where you play, but whenever you're going to buy a console, I usually suggest buying the first version of the console, and it's because usually the heat sinks are better and they have a little bit better parts. Not all the time, but most of the time. So, and this is part of the issue of why we saw the red rings of death, okay, with Xbox 360. No one really complained about it too much at launch from what I remember, but everybody was complaining about it a few years after launch with the red rings because, again, they were trying to cut corners. They were trying to save costs a little bit. And then the solder was freaking melting on the board. And it was screwing with the connections and stuff. It was getting too hot. Again, the heat sinks were not good condition and the solder wasn't good quality either, or as good of quality. And yeah, the red rings of death on the 360, good go. That cost them over $2 billion back then. That's not even adjusted for inflation. They lost a lot of money on those 360s, let me tell you. And then the cooling for Xbox One was actually really good. And it was even better for the Xbox One X, if I remember right. And then, with the Series X, it is the best cooling I think they've actually ever had, with just the sheer design itself. So, yeah, it's absolutely hilarious. And horrible at the same time. I have to laugh because it's so bad. But it's like here they've trying to save costs, trying to not spend as much on their consoles, and Sony is screwing over some of their players. So again, if you try to play Final Fantasy 16, if you try to play maybe even Black Myth Wukong, which I didn't hear anyone having any issues with Black Myth, but that is also a very intensive game because it's not made optimally by the team. And then now we're seeing again that here we are with Death Stranding 2. So yeah, if you have a weaker a weaker PlayStation, um, yeah, just be careful, okay? Make sure you don't have it in an enclosed space. Shelving with an open back panel is preferred, okay? Blow out your vents, blow out your fan, okay? Make sure to dust it every so often. I usually blow out my vents once a month or once every 2 months just to keep the dust clear and stuff. And then, yeah, also take it apart like once every 2 or 3 years and clean it. You don't have to disassemble everything, but just take the covers off and just remove some of the stuff that you can see and get rid of. Just be careful, okay? And if you're worried about static, just use some nitrile gloves. That'll work great to keep the static away. But please, like, take care of your console, okay? Because we all see our consoles as an investment, and I don't want yours to blow up because you're trying to enjoy a first-party game. That sucks. That sucks. And, here we have another one. So, just another PSA out there. Yeah, just be careful. But Death Stranding 2 is getting really good reviews so far. Let's talk about Warner Brothers. Well, they're promoted some new studio heads. Montreal Studio is going to have Yves Lachance, if I'm saying that right. Montreal Studio is going to focus on Harry Potter and Game of Thrones IP, and not Avalanche. Why? They made the first one. It makes no sense. And yes, Warner Brothers does technically own Avalanche. And so what has Montreal made? Well, they've made Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. I am so stoked just for another failed game because they can't freaking make it. Gosh, the optimization in Gotham Knights was really bad. Hopefully they fixed that. Suicide Squad was a failure right out of the gate. A lot by game design, but also just very, very boring. So I understand the devs had to make what was required or what they were being told, but my word, having Montreal make the next Harry Potter game does not give me confidence. Also, NetherRealm Studios is going to be now ran by Sean Himrick, and he's going to focus on Mortal Kombat and DC games. Avalanche is actually working on a game called Systemic Reaction. And the trailer doesn't really show very much, but it's kind of like a first-person horror shooter game. Kind of looks interesting. So when there's actually more to share, there is actually a trailer, not in good quality, but you can look up the Systemic Reaction trailer and take a look at that. But yeah, completely different from Harry Potter. So yeah, we'll have to see what's up with that. Currently, Mind's Eye, boy, it is bombed really bad. Refunds out the wazoo, and Build a Rocket Boy is having layoffs. They've actually activated a 45-day consultation by law in the UK, and it's when you're going to lay off over 100 staff or more. Studio roughly has 300, so they're probably going to lose somewhere between 33 and 50% of this staff there. That's huge. We don't know how many are actually going to be laid off yet. Again, we got to go through this consultation, then they'll probably announce it. So it's not likely the devs' fault. It's leadership again. And this is why we were talking earlier. It's just like, yeah, we're going to watch Mind's Eye burn, not for the sake that the devs don't know what they're doing or that the studio is bad. Again, for the leadership, because the leadership, again, is messing up the game. We've seen that so many times this decade, and we're only halfway there. Almost. But yeah, the leadership was blaming previewers that they were being paid off. They were saying that employees were not experiencing burnout; they were just losing focus. And then they were firing their quality assurance leads twice in a row before removing the position completely. So yeah, this game deserved to fail, and it clearly wasn't ready. It's like, are you guys out of your freaking mind? Are you out of your mind? Like, it is so boring, broken, janky, not ready. I mean, this is like alpha. This doesn't even feel like a beta game with some of the stuff that I'm seeing on stream. Mr. Matty Plays is his little stream of Mind's Eye. Man, that's hilarious. It's crazy. Man, it makes me feel like another... God, what was that game called? It was only on Steam the day before or something like that. Yeah. Again, it was supposed to be this like survival game, but it was so freaking janky. Um, man, yeah, it was horrific. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully they learn from it. Man, but yeah, again, it's just more devs getting screwed over because the leadership's making bad decisions. Man, I would hate to be a dev right now. I'm serious. I would really think hard about who I want to work for and the environment that I'll be working in. I even told my company that when I went to work for them in 2013. During my interview, it was 2 hours. Man, it was long, but it was worth it in the end. But I told them, I said, look, I have some questions for you about how you run your company. And they were like, well, people that interview don't usually ask questions. And I said, well, you've never met someone like me before. And I said, you choose who you hire. And I said, I choose who I work for. And I said, if I don't like the stance of the company or how they run things, I'm not going to work for them. I don't care what the money is. Man, let me tell you, it was quiet in that fucking room. Because I'm serious, folks. We have the power, even if we're supposed to be the small guy at the table, we have the power to put ourselves first, to do what's best for us. Again, the company that I work for, probably the company that you work for, I don't owe them any more than being an employee to do the labor well. That's what I'm signing up for. That's what I'm paid for. But they're not my family. Okay, they're not my best friends. I don't owe them anything. And some of these people that have been hired on by these studios and publishers, man, they've just been getting screwed since 2022. We've had like over 25,000 layoffs so far just in the gaming industry because of redundancies, because of AI, because a game failed, because the leadership was making wrong decisions, because of sexual harassment stuff, blah, 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 blah. It's brutal, folks. So yeah, choose who you work for. You will thank yourself. Let's talk about the Switch 2. Well, it has another issue. It's the third-party case by Killswitch. Now, the Joy-Con grips, well, they don't allow for the full functionality of how the Joy-Cons actually attach to the Switch 2 console or screen. And so, yeah, folks have shared videos where, and it's really bad. Folks have shared videos of just the Joy-Cons detaching while they're holding it with one hand, and the first response basically from Killswitch was like, oh, well, you guys aren't going to hold it that way. It's like, what if I had to grab a drink or something and I'm holding it with one hand and then my whole console disconnects and falls onto the floor and crashes? I mean, I don't want that to happen. What if it lands on something hard or it kind of flips around or I try to save it and that makes it worse? Yeah, like what the heck is going on? So yeah, the first response was not good. They got a ton of flack from that. Someone else came in a little bit later, and the second response was much better. D-Brand said that they're actually making a new design to address the issue, and everyone will get a replacement in the future that has purchased a current Killswitch case for the Switch 2. So check your emails, keep checking, every few days or once a week or something, because yeah, they will be sending notifications out if that is an issue that you actually have. Also, something else too that I wanted to talk about was Mario Kart World, since we're on Switch 2 stuff. Well, they had an update, and boy, many people are not liking it. I wish I could see a review score, but we don't actually have one, so there's really no way to track this. But boy, there is a ton of content and a ton of comments in those videos of people absolutely bagging on Mario Kart World. There's whole vids that are like 30 minutes. I even watched one last night that was roughly about an hour of just the person showing the game without any edits because he really wanted to show how bad it was. And it's pretty bad. So yeah, players buy Nintendo ultimately to feel young again, to relive these memories. And that includes the competitive feel for the 3-lap races in Mario Kart 8, right? That's kind of what they're expecting. And while those are in there, they're not getting them really when they're playing multiplayer with this new update. So many players are going in for this to have these competitive races, and Nintendo has changed it with this update that's made it more likely to get the newer tracks, intermediate tracks, where they're more or less just a line. That's a problem. People do not want to play those tracks. These are tracks in between other real tracks like driving in the open world. But yeah, they're basically straight lines with some curves in it. And players aren't liking this as much because it's not challenging. There's really no skill. The whole meta for racing is to hang in the back, collect some good items, and then absolutely obliterate at the very end and get to the front. And like, yeah, people are doing it, and it's all about the items that you have and avoiding other items on the field for most of the race. And boy, it is just incredibly boring. Plus, you're basically just going in a straight line, so it's like there aren't really a ton of shortcuts to take. There's a few, but it's not a ton. And again, it's not very. It just doesn't feel good playing these intermediate tracks. And yeah, folks are not happy. Some are saying they're going back to Mario Kart 8. Yeah, again, there's whole vids on this. And I think this will be content fuel for a while until Nintendo changes something. But people also know that Nintendo is very stubborn. And so, yeah, folks, if this is your issue, just quit playing. They can see the data. Everything is hooked up online anyway. This is the most DRM'd online console they've ever made. And so, yeah, just quit playing. They'll be able to see that. And don't go back until they fix it. That's it. I mean, it's your time. You already gave them your money at, $50, $80, or $90, depending on what version you got. But boy, that's freaking expensive to not be able to play the way that you want to play. And some people really think this update is, while there were some improvements made to the game, the majority of the update was to actually tweak how people are playing in multiplayer because they want them to play these kind of like in between tracks. Why? Why can't you just set up games, let them host servers, um, whatever? Why can't you just let people play the way they want to play? Again, accessibility is becoming king. We've talked about this too with Xbox and their handheld being able to play Steam games. And, this is essentially merging Xbox, PC, and PlayStation all in one location on purpose for the best type of console experience you can have. And while Steam is pretty close to that, they still can't provide a console-like experience, which some people are wanting. Tens of millions are wanting. And so there definitely is a market for that. But, man, it's brutal. It's brutal that they're actually having to deal with this. This is ridiculous. So while I believe that players generally like Mario Kart World, it just isn't the same. And I think the rose-colored glasses are coming off. And I forget the name of the creator, but he was saying when he was watching their direct, he's like, you know what? There were some kind of weird tracks in there where they literally looked like a line. Like, I hope that's not the case. And I hope that isn't like a main part of the game of just tracks outside of like free roam or something. And unfortunately, he was right. He was right to be concerned because here it is, and people are literally eating it whether they want to or not. So yeah, I think the rose-colored glasses are coming off. I kind of think this is the last straw. A lot of people buy the Nintendo to play the first-party games, and they have an expectation, and that's not being met, especially when they spend as much money as they did, especially when the console was $450. And then the console isn't perfect either. Dang. I mean, the screen has problems. There's going to be continued issues with stick drift, though it looks like those will be somewhat easily replaceable when that happens in your Joy-Cons. But the cost of everything, things paywalled behind NSO, and then also the DRM bricking that's going on. Even just having a slightly modified game that people wanted to try and brick, like Mario Odyssey. Someone altered Mario Odyssey a little bit to have a different experience. I think a more challenging experience, if I remember right. And it's bricked. They're done. I mean, they can't do anything. And the fact that you can't unlink, take your old profile off, and and you can't even factory reset, is just a console that's done. Again, I've had people even fight me on my own little videos saying that, yeah, they're not permanently bricked. And it's like, yes, they are. Yes, they fucking are. They are permanently bricked. There's nothing you can do with them. They're a paperweight. They're a $450 paperweight. The only way is to send it back to Nintendo if they'll take it. And I doubt they will because they want to sell more consoles. So if you're in the used market, be careful out there too. So yeah, next we have Donkey Kong Bonanza. Is this one going to be good? I don't know. I'm a little leery personally. I was super excited for it. The Direct looked amazing. But, Nintendo is not the same, folks. And trying to pursue reliving your childhood memories, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry to say. Let's continue on with the news, though. All right. Sony has another class action lawsuit based on their practices with their store. So this is from the Netherlands. The lawsuit is saying that Sony does not have the that Sony does have the currency available to sell to third-party stores, but doesn't actually have the digital games to sell at third-party stores. The only places you can buy them directly are actually from Sony. So Sony's ultimately created a monopoly for the last 10 years in the Netherlands. That's affected a ton of players. And at least on the PS5 and third-party stores too, are unable to provide competition for these prices. So therefore, Sony can charge basically whatever they want and limit the amount of discounts that people get and the amount of games that they make for free. And we've even seen that with PSN or PlayStation Plus and with how they've been treating their players over there. I mean, you're not getting very much. The games you are getting, like this year, or no, July, I think, is Diablo 4. Congratulations. It's not a great game. Path of Exile, I think, is a heck of a lot better. So yeah, the lawsuit states that this is affecting roughly 1.7 million players just in the Netherlands. In other countries, they can jump on this. Okay, there was one rumored in Spain and another one in Portugal. And those are still bumping around, I guess. So yeah, Sony needs to honestly fix this and change things so that more things don't happen or get worse. But yeah, Sony already has a class action lawsuit, already had one in the United States at $7.8 million. And man, that's nothing compared to what they make as a company. But, unfortunately, that is just what they're doing. So, yeah. I mean, this ultimately, when they're done with all of these lawsuits, and if these honestly keep happening, it can get incredibly expensive for Sony really quickly. And the thing is that they don't have a ton of extra money to burn. Okay, they've already had a lot of canceled games. They've had a bunch of layoffs too. Certainly not as much as Microsoft. But also Microsoft is like, I don't know, 10 times the size of Sony. They're huge. So yeah, it's not a good look. It's not a good look for them at all. And yeah, these lawsuits, unfortunately, too, they're becoming more common. So we're seeing Apple in the UK. Apple lost versus Epic Games. And Epic is able to basically take away some of that money now from the Apple Store. Also, Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard and Cloud. They also had to adjust some stuff there, too, in order to have the acquisition. So, and that was a concern with that FTC case. So the monopolization, countries are starting to push back on this because, again, gaming is not just a small little wedge anymore of the economy. I mean, last year it was $455 billion. That's a ton of money. That's a ton of money. And it's going to continue to grow. They're expecting by like 2030 to be over $700 billion and then 2035 over $1 trillion. Like, that's crazy. 10 years from now, the industry being $1 trillion. Man. So yeah, it's just getting big enough to get on the radar with some of these countries. They know it's affecting consumers. And ultimately, too, with the fines, they know they can make money. So why not? Why not? But yeah, Sony needs to honestly figure this out. They need to quit doing this. Also, too, I did see that they've actually made 4 games with no region restrictions at all, which is incredible. Like, finally, again, they're being consumer friendly again, but I think only because they have to. Which is frustrating that we have to continue. Gosh, we have to continue to deal with this over and over again with Sony, and it's like, come on, man, just make just make the decisions that are going to make your customers happy. That's how you create value, right? Honestly. But yeah, these 4 games are going to be God of War Ragnarok, The Last of Us Part 2 Remaster, Spider-Man 2, and Helldivers 2. So yeah, these are going to be free on Steam. Well, not free, but they're not going to be restricted anywhere in the world. So they've been restricted in the Philippines, for example. So anyone with a PlayStation 5, now they can actually play these games. And why they region restrict to begin with, I have no freaking idea. It doesn't make any sense to me because you're just cutting out all of those people. But yeah, slowly but surely, PlayStation has been adding these countries and these regions to be able to use PSN. And then now they're starting to have games that are not region locked at all. So yeah, I hope they continue with this. I honestly think they need to. Let's also talk about another PlayStation story. PSN is celebrating 15 years. And man, it's kind of underwhelming a little bit. I was hoping it was going to be a little better. So yeah, July we're getting Diablo 4. We're also getting the King Fighters 15 and also Jasant, which is like a rock climbing game. But yeah, celebrating 15 years. You're going to be able to get a game trial of WWE 2K25. Hold your applause. You're also going to get a game trial opportunity for Monster Hunter Wilds. We just talked about Wilds. It's shit, folks. Next, there's also going to be PlayStation Store exclusive offers through June 27 through 29. Actually, is that today? It's probably today, isn't it? I missed that one. Also, there's going to be a Valorant PlayStation Plus pack. There's also a PlayStation tournament you can be a part of, which you're not even competing for money. You're just competing for in-game visual currency and Sony Picture Core movie credits and an exclusive PSN avatar. Yeah, they're not even giving you money anymore. That's awful. There's also Sony Picture Core. That'll be from a few days ago through August 12th. And then online multiplayer weekend. We'll have an online multiplayer weekend this Saturday and Sunday where all players can join online multiplayer matches with no PlayStation Plus membership required. And that's how they're celebrating 15 years of PlayStation Plus. That is trash. That is absolute garbage. Okay, you're not even giving older games. You're not giving free games at all. You're not giving collections. You're not giving and like your July monthly games available to download. They're not great to begin with. The big one is supposed to be Diablo 4, and that's not a great game. Like, I don't even know what the heck they're doing here. I don't even know what the heck they're doing. It's so, oh my word, it's so incredibly frustrating. And I feel like they're not giving you anything. They're giving you game trials. Okay, they're giving you in-game currency for a tournament. They're allowing you to play multiplayer for free for 2 days. I mean, come on. This is 15 years of PSN. Like, what has Sony turned into? It just sounds ridiculous. I'm sorry. It does. I'm not sorry, actually. It is ridiculous. It is gaming garbage. They're not giving you much of anything. And I do see that PlayStation does have a problem. I don't see how they're going to pull in new players. I don't think new players are really going to care. And it stinks. So the next thing I want to look up is something with Chronos: The New Dawn. and I want to actually take a look at this. So this was 6 days ago. I don't know why PlayStation is the only one talking about this, but this is going to be available, as far as I know, PlayStation, Steam, and also on Xbox. I'm going to be playing it. But yeah, I really, really want to actually watch this. It looks exciting.
Hello, my name is Jacek Ziemba and I am game director in Project Kronos.
And my name is Shamilian Bukhtin. I'm lead combat designer here in Kronos.
And today we want to talk about combat in Kronos The New Dawn.
Serious business. So we want to make a combat experience in a surviving atmosphere where we put a lot of emphasis into a tactical experience for the players.
We need to stay cautious and call all the time because our enemies, orphans, can merge with each other. So when you kill an enemy, it creates, in a way, a fuel for other enemies to be absorbed and then to become stronger. So yeah, it's tactical gameplay, but during the fight, you need to also think very fast. What should you do?
Since we're aiming into the tactical and decision-making approach, we are making each encounter in the game handcrafty, which leads to that somewhere you have environment as your own advantage. Somewhere not, and it's going to be a disadvantage. Somewhere you can use the canister. Somewhere you can lure the enemy out into your position. Or you can do vice versa and just go into melee and fight with your enemies with your best luck.
There is no one solution to how to, clear out arenas and so on. Depends on your playstyle. Even in here when we, develop the game, some of us play more offensive, more defensive. It all depends on your loadout, your gameplay style in a way, and how you want to approach it, and how many resources you have. So there's a lot of variability there.
It's actually up to you how the resource management would be handled. Because here we are giving you different types of weapons, different tools, abilities. And throughout the game, you have to, by yourself, figure out what works best for you. What kind of player you are and what kind of strategy fits for you better in our environment.
Resource management is also a key, of course, in survival horror, but definitely in our game. So it's very important what you are doing before the fight with the resource, during the fight and after the fight. If you are a more offensive player, you can craft maybe more ammunition. If you're a more defensive one or want to have more health packs, okay, from the same resources you will decide, okay, I want to have something for, when it wouldn't be needed.
Yes, of course you can. As many other survival horror games, we made a decent progression tree for the player, so you can upgrade your weaponry, your tools, your suit. It's up to you how you would like to upgrade your character that fits best for your playstyle. In Kronos game, we came up with the different takes on the enemies. So here we build different types of roles for them. So imagining a role of a runner whose basic goal is to run to the player and kill him as fast as it can. Or a different one, which is like a ranger character who stands behind and shoots you and forces you to go closer to him. There are bruisers, there are big-ass tanky guys whose the only goal is to grab as much resources they can from you. With that idea, we created a lot of unique encounters within the game, and we're asking you to think, analyze, and decide on yourself what would be the best target to start fighting.
All of that is flipped by a merge system. So even if you're, very good at what Shamil said, when merge happen, now, your running enemy can become a tank enemy.
Oh yeah.
And even have a range attack now, or other attacks, and just become stronger and stronger if you let them merge, so don't do it. So you need to be very careful, how to approach combat with our enemies, because different things can happen during the fight. But also we mix that with different types of enemies, like more sneaky ones, or like more like trap-like ones here and there, also to change the pace of the game. But also I think somebody said something about boss fights.
No. We're not talking about boss fights.
So yeah, that's a secret, sorry. Yes and no. So all travelers need to jump to the past to extract some targets, but each of them will have different, let's say, list of them. You can find an upgrade in the game that can tell the state of health of enemies. So how much they still have before you kill them by using guns. You raise your leg and you stomp.
With a heavy sound.
Yeah. No. You will suffer. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more materials in the future.
So yeah, honestly, I'm excited. Like, a lot of this sounds like Dead Space to me. And I've played all of the Dead Space games, even the bad one. And, oh man, I am ready for some more, personally. I'm very excited. So thank you to you guys for actually voting. You guys voted this year for Chronos: The New Dawn for me to play and completely review. And, yeah, I can't wait to grab it. It's supposed to come out sometime, in the fall, autumn of this year. But yeah, just hearing more about the combat, seeing more of the world. I don't expect the game to be overly long. I also don't expect it to be $70. I expect it to maybe be more like a $60 game. But yeah, quite excited for this. And again, I'm going to continue to work on being objective as possible. I'll probably compare this to some other shooters that I've played, kind of like Resident Evil. Okay, they very much kind of have the same type of third-person style setup like that, except this camera has moved a little bit more away in Chronos. And then I'm also going to compare it to Dead Space, again, because of the same type of horror mechanics and the way things are going to be and leveling up your suit and weapons and stuff. That's very, very Dead Space. So, yeah, stay tuned, folks. I can't wait to dig into it. Let's keep going on with the news, though. We're almost done. Hellblade 2 Enhanced Edition is actually coming out August 12th. It's coming to PlayStation, PC, and it's going to be free on Xbox and Game Pass. This will be at 60 frames, which will be targeted. Again, they were targeted at 30, and sometimes I didn't even feel like when I was playing it, I don't even feel like we were getting 30. It was really brutal. And I do think this was actually rendered in 4K, but we'll have to see. It was like one of the most beautiful games, most visually realistic we'd ever seen. And it was incredible, but it almost felt more kind of like a tech demo for the game than an actual video game. So, yeah, maybe with the Enhanced Edition, I'll actually take a look at it again. I think I still have my original stuff on YouTube in the backlog somewhere in the review section of my playlist. But we know that the standard edition is going to be $50. The deluxe edition is going to be $70. And, these are going to be optimized for PlayStation 5. The $70 deluxe edition is also going to be... Oh, excuse me, I read that wrong. $70 deluxe edition is going to include an optimized PlayStation 5 Hellblade 1 game. So you're going to get both. You're also getting a soundtrack. So 2 games for $70? Man, I don't think PlayStation can beat that remaster price. That's $35 a game. That's really cheap. But these are also really short games too. They're only like, less than 10 hours long, roughly. Both of them put together. But yeah, that is a good price. So I am excited for that. All right, last thing about PlayStation. They are removing some games, unfortunately, from their PlayStation Plus. So we already knew they were removing the Resistance games, but they're also removing Infamous Second Son. And this was announced back in April, and that's actually happening now. They also removed Horizon Forbidden West in September of 2024, again, which is their own game. It's their own first-party game. Makes no sense to me. And then also back in 2020, PlayStation Plus Collection was actually offered for PlayStation 5 owners that were subbed to the service. And these were free PlayStation 4 games. And some of them, again, were even first-party. And this would kind of look like, kind of like Game Pass, like Xbox Core or Xbox Live games a little bit, right? You get something for free when you sign up for the service. So Sony actually removed these in 2023 and had until removed. Excuse me. So yeah, they removed these titles. You had until a certain time to actually redeem these games to actually have ownership, but Sony ultimately removed these. So yeah, if you were one of the tens of millions after this, you never had the chance to actually get these games because they just completely removed them from the collection. These games were Uncharted 4, Ratchet and Clank, Days Gone, which, hey, if you had the Days Gone remaster, or if you had the original Days Gone, basically the upgrade was like $10. And so, yeah, they kind of screwed players on that initially because, yeah, if you didn't have the PlayStation 4 version of Days Gone, you couldn't actually be eligible for the upgrade, which was kind of ridiculous. This also included God of War 2018 and Infamous Second Son, and other third-party exclusives for the platform. And this almost would be like removing Xbox core games from the service. It's like, oh yeah, you just don't get these anymore. And again, like a lot of those are actually like first-party titles, like some Fallouts and Fables, and I forget what else is on there. But there's some pretty good ones. But yeah, it is really getting old to see prices for PlayStation Plus keep going up, which they just went up in Brazil again, by the way, and by a lot. And but yeah, it's just incredibly frustrating. And Sony needs to quit removing their games. They need to quit paywalling their games, and they need to stop remastering stuff we don't necessarily want. And yeah, it kind of feels like when Nintendo and Xbox are now charging $80 for their first party games. It's like the value is just disappearing out of the gaming industry. Like this generation, in my opinion, has been horrible. It has been awful. I hope we're done after this generation because there hasn't been anything more frustrating than this. But ultimately, they're just creating more of a monopoly, hoping that you pay more, that you buy the games again, whatever. And even their first party stuff. It's like, man, and yeah, monopolies, they are not consumer friendly and they never will be. And consoles are ultimately just walled gardens that feel like open worlds until you experience a PC. And then it's like, whoa, dude, this is crazy. I have all of this liberty to be able to make choices for whatever's best for me. And this is why a lot of us players are excited about the future of Xbox. Merging Windows and Xbox together and breaking down some of these walled gardens because a lot of us don't like them. Now, if you like them and you feel good owning a brand, hey, that's cool. You probably have Nike or Adidas or an iPhone or a BMW car too, or maybe some other stuff, maybe a Gucci bag or Prada. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's still just a car, just a bag, just a whatever. And some of us are figuring out already that the experience is what matters. It's not the brand. It's the experience that it provides. And if the experience sucks, like Mario Kart World with their update, then people don't want it. Because ultimately it doesn't mean anything. Because again, they're not provided what they paid for. And it's horrible. I mean, yeah. I'm going to keep covering the news every week. If you enjoy these, you can always follow me at Gaming Garbage 22. These usually come out somewhere on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, depending on my work schedule. You'll be seeing this on Monday when this actually comes out. But man, it is just crazy this week. And yeah, there's other stuff we do on the channel too. There's playlists as well, and then you can also follow me at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee. And when I'm playing a game and not talking, I'll actually engage with the chat and stuff. So with that, folks, hopefully you guys are doing well. But boy, yeah, keep your eyes and ears open. Okay, remember to vote with your money because in mass we do have influence, and we are changing the industry. Let's keep changing it. And with that, folks, I'll see you guys on the next one.